What is up, everybody, and welcome to the wonderful month of February. With February also comes the RLCS X Winter Split Majors. Every single weekend, starting today / tomorrow, and going from every weekend after that, will be a different major where you have 2 days of RLCS action for each individual region where they play in a double elimination tournament for $100,000, unless you're OCE in South America where you only play for $25,000. This weekend in particular is going to be OCE. You have the OCE Major, $25,000 on the line, and points to go to the World Championship, pending COVID if it actually does happen. Today's video, we're going to be talking basically the teams that you need to keep your eyes on if you do end up watching this weekend. These ones are the most likely. We're going to go from order from probably top 4, maybe top 4, top 5, down to the number 1 team that I think is going to most likely take the whole thing. We're going to do this actually for every single region rather than doing a power ranking, because power rankings are great and all. The real important thing is who's going to win the next upcoming event. That's what power rankings are for. They are for literally the purpose of seeing who is going to be the person that I think is most likely going to win the whole thing. So with that said, let's roll the intro and get right into it. What is up, everybody? Lawler here. As always, like I mentioned in the intro, if you guys enjoy the content and everything, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, all that fun stuff. 50K subs. Appreciate it with all the love and support. Today's video, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about OCE, the teams that I think are most likely. And I think OCE is probably one of the easiest ones to kind of recap and keep people's eyes on, simply because there is only really a handful, if that, of teams that I think realistically have a chance. You look at all their history in the past seasons plus, there's always been 2 teams, maybe 3, that really push the envelope of these guys actually have a legitimate chance of winning. I will give a nod towards our 4th team, which I'll talk about in just a second here, but ultimately, like, outside of this, if someone else wins, I'll be completely shocked. First team up is going to be Mindfreak. Mindfreak, a team that has gone through some roster changes, but for the most part, the core members are kind of what make it turn. You've got Requiem, Fever, and Caveman Ben. A team that, although they may not be the ones that are recognized for their crazy individual mechanical skills, like you get some others like Amphis and stuff like that, Mindfreak is just a solid team. And I think that can be very dangerous in the big moments. There's a lot of times when there's a lot of pressure on the line and everything else, and you rely on the crazy mechanics and the extra to push you in online. When it comes down to the big moment and the ability to be successful, I think Mindfreak is a team that actually gets a little bit of an advantage. They are not going to be the team that overwhelms with the flashy. They're just super consistent, and they have a very defensive play style. The benefit of defensive play styles is it is very easy to recreate in high pressure situations. When you are under a lot of pressure, it's also something that you feel comfortable with and you tend to make less mistakes. So I will say, first and foremost, Mindfreak, I do have you at number 4 because I do think the skill ceiling of the next 3 is significantly higher, but I will say that Mindfreak is a very good team. I do recommend for people, they don't really give OCE the time of day. I do recommend it. I know the schedule is hard. I know it's very difficult based upon time zone stuff, but OCE has definitely amped up a little bit. And despite being away from the other regions and not being able to compete and really get that experience against the top regions like NA and EU, they still continue to progress, and it's really exciting to watch. So the speed is fast. There's a lot of mistakes, which is the only thing, but mechanics and speed and infield passes and stuff are aplenty. So it is exciting nonetheless, even if the gameplay is a little bit lesser. And I don't mean that to be a slight. It's just when you have a smaller amount of people, talent-wise, you're going to have less options. So Mindfreak, though, number 4, and still a dang good team. Hope to see them cause some upsets like they did in the last big event that they played in. Next up, and probably the fan favorite for most people, is going to be the Renegades. This is CJ, Siki, and Kami. This is the most well-known team in OCE for most people, just because CJ and the rest are very outgoing, primarily CJ. Do miss these boys a whole ton. If you guys don't know their playstyles, it is a lot of emphasis on infield pass and a lot of offense. Kami pairs with a ton of demos. Things have changed up a little bit. They've been trying to work in a little bit more selfish play with some solo plays to slow down the pace rather than forcing stuff. And this one does have some concern. There has been numerous times where this team has started to fall back a little bit, where they're getting overshadowed by the 2 teams I'm going to put above them due to some roster changes that ended up happening. This is a team that brought in CJ after the not going to land situation. You had a teammate leave, and they were just trying to figure out what they could do. Torsas used to be on this team, and then when he left, they brought in CJ the day after. So an intentional change in a team that despite not making that next event, stuck together, trying to build upon what was season 9. So ultimately for this roster, I do have a lot of potential with them. I do think they are the fan favorite. A lot of people think they are very talented. But as of late, they have been missing the mark and have been, like I said, overshadowed by the 2 teams above them. This team, though, does have a lot of pop-off potential. If this team is in a groove, they can beat anybody, and they showed that. In their previous runs, they didn't lose a single online event for like 4 or 5 months and were absolutely dominant. In the past, it used to literally just be Renegades and one of the other teams, and that was it. Nobody else came close, but the upcoming roster changes with Torsos going somewhere else really changed that. At number 2 is a team by the name of Cringe Society, and this one was a little bit unique circumstance. For those that don't follow the OCE scene, Cringe Society was Drippe, Torsos, and Deca. And they played and were very aggressive. Things were going well. And then for some reason, Torsos left and went elsewhere, and actually made this team a little bit more controlled. Torsos was always a little bit more chaotic. And I do think this team now, Cringe Society being Drippe, Deca, and Jules coming from Ground Zero, added some stability to the team. And I don't mean that as a slight either. I just think that there was too much of the same with Torsos on this team. So Cringe Society is heavily favored as kind of like the number 2 overall, in my opinion. They've definitely solidified themselves and bumped out Renegades based upon recent performances. It seems to be that these two have had a long-term rivalry and just haven't been able to really separate. I think that's the exciting thing about OCE is you're now starting to see a few more teams come into play rather than just like, oh, it's Chiefs and Tainted Mai, and that's it. There's some pretty good competition, and these teams do interchange towards the top 3. But ultimately, Cringe Society has had Renegades number now for a few months, probably, is what it feels like. The difficulty, I think, for Renegades is trying to bring from their scrim performances into live. But Cringe Society right now solidifies themselves for myself as the number 2 overall in the region. Last but not least, in the team that has been pretty much winning everything, and credit to them, is Ground Zero Gaming. This is Express, Amphis, and Torsos. This team's just got a lot of talent. Not only are you pairing a little bit of a reminiscent for me of like a almost like an Envy. Not to that extent, but you have Amphis and Torsos, which are super aggressive. They challenge everything. They're in your face constantly. There is no hesitation whatsoever with this team. They are constantly go, 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 go. But you have Express that sits back a little bit and surveys the field and kind of makes his mark. And despite that, he still rotates in pretty heavily as a 3rd man, but overall, Ground Zero has been the dominant team in OC. They've won just about everything. You can even go look at their Liquipedia page for the results, and it's just 3rd, 4th, 1st, second, 1st, second. And it's just, they win just about everything as of late. If they don't win, it's because they are losing to someone like Renegades, but that was months ago. In the last month or so, they've been playing pretty dang well. They did get upset by a team by Solicit, which felt kind of weird. I don't expect that to happen again. It was kind of a weird scenario. Maybe Solicit plays a big upset. But again, I mean, you look at some of these results from the Masters that happened just a bit ago, and like every big team dropped out early. Renegades dropped out early. Cringe Society barely beat Mindfreak, and then they lost almost immediately to Attack of the Invisible Ninja. So it just felt like an off week, and I don't want to negate that too much because I do want to give credit to the teams that are pushing boundaries. But if I'm going with my gut and I'm giving you the like, these are the teams that you can have expectations to win, these are my 4. But I mean, Ground Zero has been looking pretty dang good. So Ground Zero is probably my nod if they are going to take the whole thing. They're also obviously number 1 overall in the standings, and that's pretty much how this has been debated upon. And it is, I always prefer consistency over kind of a one-off, and Ground Zero has been that team. So hopefully everybody does take the time to tune in and watch the majors. These will be going on this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. The times and the dates are a little bit weird because on Liquipedia they show for the next day, but in reality, because they are starting the day in advance, the time zone difference that ends up pushing it back a day, it's kind of weird. But ultimately, these will be starting Saturday, Sunday. It should be some exciting matches. Try to find what it is in your time zone and tune in, because I will say, even though you may not know all the players, even though you may not know what's on the line, it's $25,000 and it's pretty exciting Rocket League, and it's professional Rocket League from a region when nothing else is going on. There's literally no other Rocket League than this weekend, and it's a major. So tune in, see who falls under the pressure, and maybe we'll see some funny interviews from CJ and the rest of the guys. That is going to wrap it up for this video for your major recap. Teams I think are going to win. As a reminder, I'll be doing this next week as well for South America, the week after that for North America, and then the weekend after that for Europe. The teams that I think are most likely going to win the region. If you guys have some more insight, I will admittingly say I'm not the most well-versed in OCE, SAM, and everything else, but I do want to make sure they get a little bit of love going into the World Championships in the future as well. And what better way to do it than give them kind of their own mini power ranking or kind of an update. I am regurgitating pretty much the information that's on the Liquipedia page. But again, give them their time of day, do your own homework, kind of go check and see the results. But ultimately, tune in because Rocket League is a game about who wins on the day. That's going to do it for me, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Peace.